Hello, it's Aaron Johnson again here at the Dwayne Johnson Group. It's that time again when we discuss the upcoming year. But let's do a quick recap of 2023 and then talk about how 2024 may start and what we can expect to see throughout the year. So 2023 turned out to be a pretty good year, rebounding from a dismal 2022. And I believe we're going to continue to see the momentum carry into 2024. Last year started out with a lot of dread and fear. Most of it was related to an overly aggressive Federal Reserve. But paradoxically, there was also expectations of potential rate cuts. Much of the concern was the economy was teetering on the verge of a recession, and ongoing inflation wasn't going down fast enough. We were experiencing higher costs on everything. Especially gas prices. But even with all of these concerns on full display, we still managed to have a decent comeback. Patience and discipline were rewarded. However, 2023 still had its fair share of surprises. Early in the year, expectations were high that the Fed would start cutting rates and that the economy would stumble. While the Fed did not comply with cutting rates, and instead gave us an additional four rate hikes of 25 basis points each through July. The hikes killed any talks of rate cuts and finally settled with a Fed funds rate of around 5.25 to 5.5. I didn't feel that we would top 5.5, and thankfully we were correct. Inflation peaked in June of 2022 at 9.1% and has slowly and stubbornly drifted lower to about 3.1%. Jobs began to soften in the final quarter of last year, showing interest rate hikes were taking effect. Yet the economy was surprisingly strong despite higher rates. Consumers spent and traveled, and earnings were down, but not out. The S&P 500 managed to gain over 20%, thanks in large part to 7 tech companies. And the 10-year Treasury settled below 4%, leaving investors with an actual alternative to the stock market. I won't say that last year over-delivered or that it didn't have its fair share of challenges, but as a whole, it was a whole lot better than 2022 for the market. With all of that as a backdrop, year-end momentum will carry us forward into the first quarter of 2024. However, recession and inflation worries are still lingering. We also have elections and world events to contend with as the upcoming year unfolds. I expect economies around the world to continue to slow, much like here at home. I don't see a recession. And if we do have one, it will likely be mild and much similar to what we've been experiencing so far. As economic weakness and growing unemployment calls for the Fed to cut rates will continue to grow louder. Also in 2024, it's an election year, and no incumbent running for election would want to face angry and unemployed voters, no matter what party they're in. I expect Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, I expect his phone to be ringing a whole lot. I also don't believe that the Fed's narrative of higher for longer, and I expect to see cuts by mid this year as the economy softens. We also see the 10-year yield grinding down to about 3% by this time next year. As of now, I see economic ranges for the S&P 500 all over the place. Some economists see 10 to 15% growth from where we are right now. Others are seeing the S&P 500 down slightly, a few percentage points from where we are now. I think we'll get a deeper understanding as the first quarter unfolds, and we'll have a better idea of what the rest of the year may look like. I expect the equity market to turn positive this year. If you hung in there so far, didn't throw in the towel, then you've been rewarded. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, now is a good time to start slowly going back into the market, which is what we have been doing with our clients. Make sure that you do consider all the potential impacts of moving back in. If you're still sitting on the sidelines, anytime you move back into the market or out of the market, you want to look at what taxes or estate issues or how it might have an impact on your whole retirement plan. Finally, energy will continue to be a major concern as we move forward. Expect continued volatility in gas prices unless we develop a coherent, sustainable energy policy. My forecast is that the Fed will be cutting rates before we see 2% inflation. Energy will contribute to higher inflation, even as the Fed doesn't consider gas and food costs in a factor in their inflation calculations. The higher the gas prices, the higher cost for goods and services and products. But we'll be back in 3 months with a recap of the first quarter and the start of 2024. We'll see how we're tracking, how we're doing with the markets in the economy, and we'll also see if there are any big new developments that we need to take a look at and consider. There's almost always a guarantee, given all we've seen in the past few years, that there will be something new that we have to factor in. If you have any questions, please give us a phone call. Our number is 951-244-6702. Thank you again for your trust and confidence in us, and have a happy new year.